Spears, the second most boring weapon type in Terraria. I mean, they get the job done, but sometimes I want something a bit more than the old forward-facing reciprocating motion. Some spears compensate by shooting additional projectiles, whether that be the ghost mushroom, toxic spores, or snowflakes, but in the end it's all the same. Thrust, thrust, thrust. The only spear that breaks this mold is the ghastly glaive, which uniquely doesn't just thrust forward, but also makes a swinging figure-8 motion as well. It also has a special ability, which spawns a golden gas whenever it hits an enemy. This projectile moves slowly and pierces enemies repeatedly during its 1-second lifetime. In my opinion, these all make it the coolest looking spear, a respite from the rather old and boring spears that largely hail from Terraria's 1.2 era. So, why don't we use it? Well, this spear is obtainable after defeating a mechanical boss through the Tier 2 Old One's army. It's dropped from the Ogre mini-boss, and here's where its first problem starts. It has a low drop rate, just 10 or 20% from the Ogre. This means you'll likely have to do multiple events to get it. This, combined with the fact that half the community would rather shit themselves into a solo Old One's army run with a true melee weapon, means that most people will write off even trying to get it. I know I would. Then there's the competition. There are only 2 spears in competition with it, the Gungnir and the Mushroom Spear. Here, the Gungnir has the advantage of being immediately obtained after a mechanical boss, while the Mushroom Spear takes a little bit more effort to get, requiring the truffle and all. Both of these are still easier to get than the glaive though, which wouldn't be a problem if the glaive was good. And yes, it's not actually that bad, at least in ideal scenarios. Here in the unshaded land of 1.4.4, the glaive has received a massive iframe reduction, so it's probably better than you remember. In single target, it beats both the Gungnir and Mushroom Spear, though not by a massive margin or anything. When gear and buffs are introduced, the Gungnir falls way behind since it can no longer double hit, and the Mushroom Spear actually pulls ahead by a little bit. As for multi-target, which would be its specialty, the glaive does a bit better. Here, it's almost able to match the Gungnir despite only hitting 5 of the 8 targets, showing its raw DPS potential per target. Meanwhile, the Mushroom Spear becomes hopeless in this scenario. When gear and buffs are added, this trend also continues as previous, with the Gungnir being a bit more consistent. Overall though, so far it seems like the DPS improvement it provides isn't massive enough to justify getting it over the Gungnir. What about its performance on bosses though? Well, here you begin to realize truly why it's not used. You know how I said the glaive has similar DPS to the Gungnir despite hitting 3 less targets? Well, that's because it has piss poor range, especially compared to the Gungnir, which obviously got this little spike thing. Now, that's not a lot, but try to melee bosses with the glaive and you'll begin to appreciate every millimeter of reach you get. With the Gungnir, you can stay at a relatively nice far range from the skeleton, while with the glaive, your ass cheeks basically have to be touching him. Not to mention that the slow-moving ghasts are less effective against the fast-moving boss, and you can see why this isn't exactly ideal. As for events, I tested using the Old One's army, which is close to the most clustered enemies get. And yes, it was definitely effective, though with the Gungnir's better piercing ability and massively improved range, I almost immediately switched to using it. This is especially true for later stages, where you get these massive hordes of enemies that the short spear just really isn't the best at. Can't even win at its own event. So it's difficult to get and the performance of the glaive just isn't that great. The fact that a tedious boss drop such as it can only sometimes equal the Gungnir, a weapon you literally get for free after a mechanical boss, doesn't look great. It's not competitive even with the iframe buff, since the Gungnir spear got a much larger buff than it did in 1.4.4. Not to say the Gungnir isn't cool, but I'd love to see OOA weapons get some love, especially for the toil they require. Like, it should at least be as long as the Mushroom Spear, right? All I can say is, Godspeed, dear Spear. Maybe one day you can make people actually want to do the Tier 2 Old One's army. Hello, if you're part of the 80% of my audience who has not subscribed, I ask that you advise going through that action right now. If you liked my content, here's some similar content on both the left and the right. Regardless, thank you for watching until the end, and good day and goodbye.